Billy was the first big success story of its kind. The restored railway began its operations in 1962. It's become a landmark for Australian railway preservation. Since 1962, Puffing Billy has carried over 6 million passengers. Restored by enthusiasts and still mainly run by volunteers, the train operates a schedule as reliable and frequent as any mainline railway. This track is one of the last survivors of a whole network of Victorian narrow gauge railways. They were built to open up rich but hilly farming country. Puffing Billy is what it always has been, a community train. Both visitors to the Dandenongs and those who live here feel it belongs to them. That doesn't mean the old puffer can't be challenged. Once a year he is, with a popular fun run up the mountain. Mind you, when push comes to shove, the train has right of way. 30 years ago, Victoria's public railways closed Puffing Billy down. The line didn't pay. Today, enthusiasts have made it a bigger business than ever before. There must be a moral in there somewhere. Puffing Billy is a proven success story. But what's it like to be at the very start of a giant restoration project, just starting to get up its own head of steam? Well, that's what's happening here. Compared to Puffing Billy, the steam enthusiasts at Richmond Vale near Newcastle in New South Wales still have most of the job in front of them. Here they hope not only to run a railway, but to restore a whole industrial complex, a coal mine, a power station, and a line with a lot of history. The first private railways in Australia were built to link coal mines in this area as far back as 1856. They were also about the last to operate in steam. Restoration here started in 1977. There's still a long way to go. The task ahead would be daunting to any but the most dedicated. But luckily, that's the kind of person a challenge like this always seems to attract. People who think this complex represents a dimension of Australia's industrial past that just mustn't be lost.
There's really only one way to appreciate a steam locomotive, and that is in steam, in motion. A locomotive like this one that was stuck and mounted, as they say, on a concrete block in the open, or even in a museum under a roof. It doesn't convey what the machines are all about. They are just a dead, inanimate lump of metal. But once you put a fire in them and you raise steam, and they really do come to life. They're almost a live machine.
Ernie Winter and his colleagues want to see all their locos up and running. That work will go hand in hand with restoring the mine site itself. The mine, and most of the buildings here date back to around 1900, a time when Richmond Vale came into the hands of a remarkable man named John Brown. John Brown was a mining magnate, an entrepreneur of the old school. So John Brown's railways carried John Brown's coal from John Brown's mines to John Brown's ships.
All the buildings were built on a very grand scale, and you will see, looking around the site, that even buildings that were built over a period of 20 or 30 years are in a similar architectural style. That gives you an indication of the aim that John Brown had in mind when he built this place. The power station on site was the largest in Australia when it was built. The colliery was certainly the largest in the South Maitland coalfields, and it was the largest in the Southern Hemisphere, probably one of the largest in the world.
There are plans to restore more of this line, but work so far has reclaimed one classic stretch of track. The last uphill pinch to Richmond Vale siding is a grade of 1 in 22, about the steepest in Australia. If Richmond Vale has a mascot, it's this little tank engine, Marjorie. Milton Anderson has been driving her for over 40 years.
Well, I started driving this locomotive in 1950 and drove it for 10 years. And after that I left the position that I had to take up another one. And some years later I discovered this in a park at Edgeworth. In a bit of a mess. Vandals had been at it, and a chap was trying to shut the smoke box door, and he had no hope, so I explained to him the proper procedure, and he says, why don't you come and join us? So that's how I became involved back in the Richmond Vale Preservation Society. They are alive. A steam locomotive will talk to you as you're going along. It's not like the modern diesels, all they do is growl. But these things, they've got a character of their own, and if you understand them and work them properly, they'll talk back to you in a language that only a driver can understand.
A future success story like Puffing Billy? One can only hope so. Richmond Vale is worth preserving, a fascinating slice of Australia's industrial past.
Toyota Land Cruiser's revolutionary diesel engine goes like a turbo, without the cost. Toyota gives driving a diesel